how students can benefit from innovation and entrepreneurship, and specifically the focus is on researchers who are trying to, not to discount the 5-year master's students, but 2-year master's students are will not be able to focus on innovation and entrepreneurship given that short time frame with which they are going to be in campus. So all our effort is to see how best students who are going to be here in the campus for a longer duration, be it MS or PhD or 5-year master's students, how they can benefit from the institute ecosystem that is present here, and also how they can convert some of their research work or the work that they've been doing for a longer duration on campus, how that can be taken to the market. So that's the effort, that's the aim. Over the past over the past almost like 10 years, we have an innovation center on campus, and we have nurtured close to around 60 startups. But of this, there is only one startup that is student run. Alumnus of our institute started a company and then set that company directly after graduating. We have around 60 startups that are run by our alumni, but they have started this after like 10 years in their work experience, and they have started the company. Our effort now is to see, can we actually convert more of students, given that the macro environment is also very nice to focus on entrepreneurship. Can we focus on students and then get them converted or sort of entice them to take the entrepreneurial route immediately after graduation? That's the effort. So this beginning, today we are trying to launch what we call as a NOAA program, focusing on student innovators and student entrepreneurs. That's our effort here. I'm very happy that you are present here. Maybe he will do a formal introduction. So that's the background for this session. Morning we had Mr. James from UK talking about how there are opportunities that exist with the UK embassy, both in India as well as in Europe. What are the opportunities that exist? We also had Professor Tangraj talking about what are the challenges that are present when we use open source software for our commercial purposes, for in our entrepreneurial journey. What are the benefits of using open source software? What are the challenges that we face? Today we have Professor Nanditha. She has kindly agreed to talk about what are the challenges or what are the advantages researchers have in order for them to take up the entrepreneurial journey, and what challenges they might face in their journey. So that's the topic that she's going to talk about.
Hello everybody. So I'll just briefly talk about this topic about what is the role of doctoral research in entrepreneurship and innovation. So there are 3 things I would like to talk about. What are the key innovations in the last year, the top innovations, and what is the role of researchers, and what are the kind of issues one faces. Okay. So the top innovations of the last year in hardware, I've just written it down. IoT based security devices, okay. Heavy duty drones designed to provide aerial support for fighting wildfires. Augmented reality job training, so this is meant for improving skills, and it helps skill retention by 100%, and it's supposed to reduce the training time by 60%. So that's why they're using this kind of augmented reality job training. And they're using enhanced runway navigation for aircrafts. And then there is this AI chip. There are lots of AI chips. So one of the applications is that this company is trying to build an intelligence processing unit which can improve the performance of machine intelligence training, quantum computing, and so on. And most of these kind of innovations have come out of startups. Okay, so these are the top innovations which I listed down from the last year. And the question is, do we actually need doctoral kind of research for doing this kind of innovation? Do we really need a PhD or an MBA to be an entrepreneur? Okay, so what I think is someone who does research or goes through a doctoral program has an opportunity to develop a kind of mindset and develop certain skills during their tenure. Firstly, because it's a long period. Okay, the other programs really don't have that kind of a time and opportunity to develop that kind of a mindset. Okay, so till we start a doctoral program, what we are all doing, what we have all done is we have studied some certain topics, subjects, written exams, and moved on. So there's really no time to actually explore research or explore trying to do a startup or something like that. Okay, so during doctoral research, what we learn is to try and find a problem and have enough time to try and solve it. It may work or may not work sometimes. Okay, and then we have time for discussions, lab meetings and so on. So these are the kind of things that we do in a doctoral research program, which develops a certain kind of mindset. Okay, so and next thing is, what is the relation between a researcher and an entrepreneur? So I have tried to list down a few things which are in common between these two people. So firstly, one spends a lot of time and money during the initial phase of a startup, and similarly if you look at a PhD program, we spend a lot of time looking for a problem, and of course the kind of stipends we get, we are actually foregoing a lot of money if provided as compared to what we would have earned if we had joined the company, right? So this is the same, these two are very common between an entrepreneur who is starting up because he is trying to invest a lot of time trying to find out what to do, and he is also probably trying to save every penny in the initial days. Okay, and coming back to the second comparison, the number of endless hours you spend trying to solve a problem, trying to meet a deadline, okay, and then you keep pushing the deadline. All of us who've done research know that. And also the experiments, the failures in the experiments and so on. So this is again very similar to an entrepreneur. So he doesn't know whether his work is going to actually fly or it's going to fail. So again there is something in common between the two, right? And also if you look at the kind of lab meetings, discussions, qualifying exams and all those things that we write, and then the presentations, communication skills that you develop during this doctoral phase, it's very similar to what an entrepreneur does when he's trying to pitch in his idea to an investor. So these are the kind of skills you develop during a research program. I'm not saying the others do not develop, but then you have more time to develop these skills during a research program. Okay, and then finally good results, getting your PhD, publications, a faculty position, etc. All of these have one thing in common, which is unpredictability, right? So there is nothing, you don't even know if your publication is going to get accepted. So similarly, an entrepreneur, he doesn't know whether this thing is going to fly, is going to get accepted in the market or not. So again, there is something in common. So in the whole phase, what this researcher is developing is a certain mindset to adapt to a certain environment, which an entrepreneur is also developing during this phase. So I'm saying that a researcher is probably better positioned if he is going to be an entrepreneur, because he's already gone through this training, he probably knows how to handle the situation better. Of course, if you're not a researcher, you can still go ahead and do it, but you're learning it on the job, whereas a researcher is probably well positioned to handle it. Okay, so and when startups emerge, they're usually trying to solve a problem that has not been solved before, or they're trying to propose something in a very novel way. Again, something which a researcher is trying to do, and that is innovation for us, right? So so with all of this exercise, what I'm trying to say is one has developed this kind of a mindset and is probably well prepared to handle this job. Okay, and the key of course is to get into a good PhD program which provides you a good training, the kind of skill sets that you need. Of course, technical skill sets, all those things that I spoke about till now are all non-technical skill sets, but of course you need certain technical skill sets, so that you need to make sure that you join the right program to get that kind of skill. Okay, and also a startup story is very similar to this one. So on the other hand, the question is the startup a right place to start research, right? Maybe, may not be. So a startup doesn't really have that much of time to start looking at a new problem, start looking at some research problem. So what I think is, if in a PhD program, if you're already starting on working on a project, on a product, it is probably a good idea to start off on that product or a startup during your PhD itself. So I've seen many of my friends do that. So the kind of product that they are working on, during the end of their PhD, it's already become a startup. So maybe that is one good idea and one good motivation for doing a doctoral research. Okay, so the kind of issues that one might face is, I feel if we are collaborating during our research, there could be questions over the ownership of intellectual property or IP, right? So when you want to monetize your venture, so that is usually one issue some of us face. So unless very specific conditions are met, and agreements are made before you start your program, it is almost guaranteed that your university or any other industry with whom you are collaborating with will demand an IP for the work that you are doing or the results of your degree. So that is one issue that most of us face when we are collaborating with any industry. The first thing is, how are we going to patent this, how are we going to give this IP, and so on. So that is one issue one might face. So to sum up, what I would say is that it is impossible to say whether you need a PhD to be an entrepreneur or not, but then definitely I feel you have a lot of time and you have developed a certain kind of skill set, technical skill set, and also certain mindset, which will certainly help you be an entrepreneur if you intend to be. So that is what I feel at the end of this.